this is my British Raj project written by me. So as we can see, we start off by looking at India. And we can see it starts in the 1600s, where Great Britain sets up trading posts all throughout India, and it spreads very quickly. India's colonial conquest grew out of earlier interactions with European trading companies. So India was happy, it was great with how they were living in their economy, and they were doing well until the Brits come over and they completely controlled the trade in India and gained all political control. Companies operated in India with no regulation by the British government, and companies had their own army led by British Army officers. And then Indians who joined the British armies in India, they were called the sepoys, but they were resented by other Indians because it was seen as a betrayal to their own kind, because they sided with the British after how much damage they have done to their society. So they were called cowards and snakes. But they ended up fighting back against the British because it was going against their religious ways, and they got locked in jail. And then that led to the Sepoy Mutiny, and it was a rebellion spread into the northern and central India. And the fierce fighting between British and the Sepoys battled out, and East India Company took more than a year to regain control of the country. And they kept fighting and fighting until after the year they regained control. And then India is known as the jewel in the crown. 300 million Indians were a large market for British products, such as their natural materials, which are shown here. So a lot of them were coffee, cotton, tea, indigo, jute, and opium, which that is the plant that heroin is made from. And all of these were taken from India, and all the positives, they got schools, but it's only for the rich white people and the elite Indians, and transport just for goods though. It was all actually just for all the political and economical power, and they controlled the businesses of India. This is for Britain. And that led to the Indians rebelling and fighting, battling it out with Britain. And then there's a turning point where the British government took control over India in 1858, but they fought back and gained their independence after working towards, with the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League. They came together to work on their independence. And Great Britain got 1 million Indians enlisted into the British Army to fight in World War I, only on the promise that Britain would have Indian self-government in exchange for them enlisting in the British Army. And there was a bunch of speeches and prayers going about it, but the British banned public protest, so without them even knowing, they were all massacred. In the span of 10 minutes, a general ordered his troops to fire at the crowd, killing 400 Indians and 1,200 wounded. And the entire news of the massacre spread like wildfire throughout India, and Indians demanded the independence. Even though those two leagues had come together earlier on, they really needed it now, because Britain had earlier banned public protests, as I mentioned earlier, and they even issued the ban without informing most Indians. And of course, since it spread news like wildfire, then we have our famous person, Gandhi. He preached and practiced civil disobedience, so his plan was to refuse all British goods and schools and all the taxes, and to make your own stuff. So he refused to do anything that could benefit the British, and as a result to that, he got put into jail with a bunch of his other members as well, and that led to the Salt Acts of 1930. And then Gandhi and his followers all walked 240 miles to the coast to make their own salt and to rebel against that. And this is a famous quote, but turned into one about the British Raj. And overall, Gandhi and his campaign were successful. And that is the British Raj.